Talk about Elon.
Oh my God. I'm so sick of the Elon stories.
I know. I felt the same way this morning. I was just like, I just want to get him out of my mouth. Like, and then it's something else.
It's called,
it's like,
it's called Elongate. It just keeps going on.
Yes,
Oh
keeps
my
going
God.
on. Were you working on one, Ryan, all day?
No, I just thought of that one.
Oh, all right.
I should have
grew on
called the topic that.
Nice.
It just grew on me.
Yes. Do we have any articles?
Did it elongate on you?
No.
There's some decent ones. There's like a good nation state one that Ryan threw in there.
Hot nation on nation action.
Some good political ones, even though we don't want to get political, right? Of course, China and Russia.
Oh gosh, the Elon
antivirus launching things once again.
Antivirus acting as data wipers.
I also didn't know there was a malware called Dark Tortilla. Was anybody else informed that was a malware strain?
No,
I enjoy it.
No.
The quesadilla malware.
Hoax Paragon. We need a gift.
We need a gift for Hot Nation on Stick. Yes, we do. It's not really sure what it's going to look like. That's that's the thing that gets me a little bit.
You got to put that through HR first for sure.
Yeah, double HR, like double SHA encryption.
There's some callbacks too, like with Eufy, right, is back in the news with trying to pull the rug out of some people a little bit, but
a little
trying to save face by not saying anything.
Old news is good news.
I'm really disappointed with that one.
Wait, am I looking at the right date? Yeah.
I don't know.
We could talk about. Did we talk about? I thought we talked about Apple last time. Yeah, we did. We talked about Apple last time.
There was a lot that we did talk about. Yeah. That's fully rolled out. I actually deployed that on all my devices. That was kind of a pain in the butt, but
deployed what?
End-to-end encryption on Apple devices. Now, with the latest version of iOS, every single thing, including your iCloud backups, to all your messages, to all your photos, pretty much everything except for email, contacts, and the calendar are fully end-to-end encrypted.
Something like this, maybe.
You have to flip the switches on though.
You do. There's a whole process. You have to also update every single device in your account. So
was it rough? Like
I haven't done it yet because I have to wait. There's certain softwares that don't run on Ventura yet, and I'm waiting for them.
I don't think this will make it over. Okay.
Now that right there, that's a classic, really.
So there's your Lady Liberty.
Lady Liberty.
That's what Paragon was saying. So I now have my torch.
Fragile.
Yes. Look how if I
am. Seeing what we got today, besides Elon, which we could talk about for like 300 hours. You know, it's getting bad when we have our own category about Elon. So.
Dude, you're absolutely right. Like ransomware is okay. Elon. Let's see if this latest vote goes through. And there's a couple decent breaches as well going in there. Some holiday seasonal ones too, with like the Lego breach.
Yeah.
Oh. I guess they didn't build good defenses, did they?
The facial recognition research breach, that story is that goes off the rails pretty quick. I'm surprised anyone allowed that research to happen. Like,
Eric G just put in a comment, and I'm not opening that GIF based on the title. What is
see it in Discord? It's great.
Is it? All right. Let me go to Discord.
Oh, you gotta open up Discord just in case to view your links for you. Which, by the way, your computer's just actually visiting that link and then rendering it. But...
Oh, my browser just crashed on me.
Must be a Monday.
Got a case of the Mondays.
So
it's like a slow Monday though. You know, everyone's like ramping up to not work at all, like ramping up to not ramp up. It's like reverse. You're ramping down. Is that? Yeah, I think that's the proper term.
Ramping down.
I'm accelerating towards stopping.
Yes. Like the end of the year, you're like,
Ouch.
it's like a marathon, and you're like right at the finishing line. You're like, you know what? It's done. I'm gonna just go drink a beer. I'm not gonna make it to the end of the line.
So should we light this candle? Should we...
No.
Hold. Well, I gotta relaunch my browser because it died on me.
Oh, he lost
Yay.
his browser. Great timing.
Yeah.
If I was trying to log into
Not-
Discord on the browser, and it keeps crashing. It doesn't seem to like that.
Oh, before we
Yeah.
kick off the actual thing, I gotta see if my Bronwyn, please. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just found out the hard way that my settings were wrong. No, Wade, not everybody is slowing down. I got a 363-page report dropped on my desk this morning.
That's not a report.
I'm sorry.
That's a book.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't you. Somebody else is getting coal for Christmas.
Yeah, there were two.
Not everybody is winding down, Mr.
Yes.
Vacation Dude.
Yeah.
Enjoy your vacation.
I will.
All right, now I gotta see. My in-laws. We exchanged gifts early, and I got a Stream Deck, but I don't think it's set up to feed. Oh, obviously it is.
It is.
Yeah,
It works.
that's
It's
pretty
working.
loud, actually.
Okay,
I think I might actually locked hearing in both ears. Weirdly
Well,
enough.
yeah.
What?
At least you ain't chicken.
What?
We needed a.
Can you not do that ever again for the benefit of everyone?
No. Now that I know. No.
The good thing is that we can get, yeah. It's a good thing is
let
we
me
can
bring it
get
down to
hearing aids
50%.
over the counter now. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
That
let's
was,
go down just like about 10
You bring the
million
volume
decibels.
down to that one a little bit.
I didn't know that. That's the first time I've ever used it.
Yeah. Smoked my hearing. Thank you.
Just
You don't
like-
need it, right? You just need to see. You
I
don't need to hear
didn't
anything.
need either of
Nothing
my
here is
ears.
absolutely nothing quite like testing in production. Come on.
Yeah,
You're alive.
true to that meme. You came in with that sound effect, just like Leroy Jenkins. No plan at all.
And this was the reaction from the crowd.
That must be all from Jerry Springer.
Was that volume better? Because now I know the volume.
That was
Yeah,
that was much
that was
less
much
painful.
better. Yeah, I can hear still. Not.
All right, I'm ready again. Who's hosting? Ian, Ralph.
Am I? No, Ralph.
I don't.
Who's hosting?
Yeah, I'll take it. That's fine. I don't care. Let's do it. Let's rock.
All right,
Special.
roll it.
There better be jingle bells in there.
Welcome to Black Hills Information Security, talking about the news. I'm your host today, Ralph May, and we have a all-star study cast of the most hackerish hackers in the world, and Ian. I honestly have to give him the award for best costume today because I'm not wearing one, and I don't think anyone else is. So you win. Congratulations. We have we have Ryan today making us all sound great. We have Mike. Thank you for showing up again. You keep showing up. You're going to be a host one day. You just wait. Wade, thank you.
Uh-oh.
I just wanted a weird, awkward silence. Sorry.
Ralph just froze there for a second for me. I don't know if he did for anybody else.
You guys, I just want to see if you guys are going to say anything. Brodwin, thank you for showing up for the last day of the year. And then Ian, we're all here for some fun stuff, right, guys?
It's gonna be good.
So
it's
much
gonna be
fun.
good. There's the last news of the year, right? Last
Yes.
official webcast. We're rounding up the year. We're it. So we're gonna go hard.
We are it. And thank you everyone for showing up to listen to us for the last newscast of the year. And you guys are the reason we do this. Yes, thank you.
It's all your fault.
It's all your fault. That's exactly what I meant to say. That's it. And if we keep this up, John may show up. Who knows? You never know. He's like a ghost, right? Like he just kind of shows up, like, hey, I'm
Fades
here.
in, fades out.
Fades in, fades out. What news articles do we have today, though? Anyone want to start with? Are we all just gonna wing this one?
I think we should probably start off with the antivirus and EDRs that are acting as data wipers now. It's like half of the major names.
So that one's under malware finds a way for you fellow hosts.
Oh. So antivirus and EDR solutions tricked into acting as data wipers. All righty. This sounds pretty bad.
With how simple the pathing is on it, I mean, it was create a special path with a malicious file inside your temp directory that looks like a subset of directories for Windows System 32 drivers. Tell the EDR to postpone the deletion until the next reboot. Delete the temp directory and then create a junction from temp to C:. So that way, basically, the EDR starts looking for Windows System 32 drivers and pop.
So is all they did was just basically tell the EDR that the good files were bad? Is that all it did?
Basically, yeah. What it did was it said, okay, here's where the location of the one is. Now ctemp is actually pointing to the C:, so it's going to go ahead and go temp, and then Windows System 32 drivers ndis.sys and blow ndis.sys that way, and all of a sudden your system is blown away.
Fun.
Nice.
Honestly,
EDRs are so powerful.
Avast and do we count Avast and AVG as like legitimate antivirus? They should just delete themselves. All right.
You should this is actually their intended effect, is destroying themselves.
As like corporate security goes, like I have to deal with people trying to install Avast and AVG all the time. And I'm like, why? What's going on here? Why are you doing it? Why are you bundling software? Like go to the corporate link for FileZilla, not the FileZilla on the internet.
That's the way it works. You're trying to get problems solved. Yeah, I don't know why you're trying to ruin everything for me. You know, it's coming my day. You ruined it, man. I thought I was helping. Now I just feel upset.
I mean, luckily there are fixed versions already out there for Microsoft and Trend Micro.
It is kind of interesting because EDRs obviously have a lot of power on the host already. I mean, they're pretty much rootkits. So if you can trick them into doing something, you know, that's kind of a privilege escalation or, you know, some other kind of attack path. I mean, this is kind of a DOS, right? By wiping all the files, a little bit more permanent, right? So kind of interesting look at that. It makes me think about like how to possibly convince an EDR to do some other actions that may be more privilege escalation techniques, right? To execute something, but I'm not really sure what that path would look like. So
I didn't get a chance to look at the story. Does the story go into what the motivations were, though? Like, who built this? Was this strictly a research project, or I'm trying to think of like what? Yeah, go ahead.
It's research. It says even the guy's name's listed in here early on, and I got to remind it. Or Yair from Safe Breach is the one with this.
Gotcha.
From a security, from like a blue team standpoint, I think of this on the reverse side where maybe like certain critical systems, you shouldn't have auto deletions or like auto corrections automatically turned on. You're just detecting, right? The classic like IPS versus IDS situation. And that's something you always need to think about when throwing out these policies for AV, just in case it deletes something it's not supposed to.
So I have like two viewpoints, right? Because I end up testing a lot of EDR solutions. And at the end of the day, I always am able to get execution. And what I think that we should be more concerned with is whether I get like actionable alerting, right? Like knowing what someone is doing and that this is very highly likely a malicious action, as opposed to just trying to figure out how to delete everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, or you want detection rather than prevention.
Yeah, and
which I think is key. Yeah, you're not going to be able to prevent everything.
You can't prevent everything. I feel like at the same point, though, there is stuff that I think should be prevented by default, like just reading anything to do with LSAS, anything. But like as far as files go, I think there's always that crosstalk where you end up, you know, accidentally deleting something that is useful or something that just happens to be written in Go for some reason, right?
A lot of these tools can quarantine, though. That's the part that's blowing me away, is that you could still have the rules to say quarantine this file until human interaction. Oh, wait, we probably shouldn't be wiping out all of Windows. Yeah, let's go find out why that's happening.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime you write any kind of rule-based system, you have to make every single scenario. They call it the invisible thread, and computers are just so many and like so many different scenarios. I mean, that's pretty much the definition of what a bug is, right? So
the name's pretty cool. He named it a keto wiper. Which
so this was research. We didn't see. That actually was my first question with this article. Was we're not seeing this in the wild per se.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Gotcha. Well,
it's still scary, especially considering how many companies just leave things in default configuration mode.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, because the more advanced EDR products in the default configuration are like okay. All right. Yeah. Like when you turn them up all the way, then they get pretty decent at, doing their job. But a lot of companies found out that when you turn them up, they actually have to understand what their organization's doing. And then that requires, so they end up putting in default mode. So yeah, it broke too many things in production,
Nothing like throwing an AV, turning it up to 11, and then throwing it on a dev's box. And you're just like, what is he doing? Like everything imaginable is going on right now. Just to get him on the phone. What did you do? Oh, I just opened up PyCharm. What? Like installed Chocolatey. Well, if we learn anything from this this news article, make sure you update your Avast and AVG.
Yeah,
every day. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's taken this long for somebody to do this, because I mean, I remember years ago when working with various antivirus software and seeing that they have certain no-go directories. It's like, how do they know, and how hard would it be to go around that if I was a bad guy? So it's I'm kind of just wondering, why is it taking this long? Am I being too cynical and jaded?
Well, the only thing about this attack is I don't really necessarily see like the how do I get paid part.
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing I'm missing, right? And I think that's probably why most people don't do it. Like if there was a way to like change your wipe the system and then somehow put a ransomware note, then this is really makes sense, right?
This is more of the scary part. This is more of a cyber weapon than it is a make money. So this is not Pecha. This is more Russia style wipers going through, stuff like that. So
I would take everyone's computer offline really fast.
Yeah.
Ralph makes a really, really good point though about like that's where I was going with was this research, a lot of these EDRs, like you said, do have the ability to do this stuff. And there's one vendor I'm thinking of in particular that, ends in EOM. And
don't say their name. Don't say their name.
Yeah, we won't. But they ended in EOM. And they're essentially bash scripts all the way down with privileges. That's all they are. And I was looking at it going,
you just ruined their AI. That was all they had.
Just hurdles and bash scripts. So no, it's just bash scripts all the way down. And I said, what would stop somebody from being able to, because they market it that way. They'd say anything you can write as a script, we can do for you as an EDR. We can search for this, we can do that. And that sounds amazing until you realize, well, what happens when the attacker gets control of that infrastructure? And it's like, well, then they can do anything. Oh, wonderful.
Well, yeah, and scripting is wonderful, but I remember years ago when Amazon took the entire East Coast down just because a technician fat fingered one command, and it wasn't. It was this cascade thing, so the potential for damage just, okay, great. I have more nightmare fodder. Wonderful.
Resume generating event.
I gotta touch on that for a minute, because years ago I used to run a enterprise operations center. It was just like a knock on steroids, and this was long before SolarWinds had its issues, and SolarWinds was kind of best in breed. And we actually joked about setting up SolarWinds, because you absolutely could do this, setting up SolarWinds so that if certain things went down for a certain amount of time, which was our SLA to notify people, that it would immediately take our most updated resume and post it to monster.com.
Resume poster.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. This is down for this long, SLA, and look for another gig.
Yep. And got it. You guys want to talk about Elon for just a second? I actually have a follow-on article about the Elon article.
All right.
We don't have to spend that long on this article, okay? So for everyone who's under a rock, doesn't get alerts on their phone, or hasn't talked to their neighbors, friends, cousins, husbands, wives, whatever, anyone else on the planet, Elon got upset because people were tracking his jet, and then in turn he kicked a bunch of people off of Twitter, and then just caused a bunch more noise, right? And they were doxing him, or actually news outlets were reporting about them getting doxed, and then they got turned off too. So it became this whole thing, because what's ended up happening, and this has been going on for a long time, is that people track his private jet. I mean, I don't know, it could take something besides the jet, maybe, possibly, I don't know. So yeah, it kind of blew up. But what do you guys think about tracking anyone's jet, let alone it's Elon's jet?
I think this is a good reason not to have your own private jet and to fly private jets, right?
Yeah. Truthfully, the transparency of where my private jet goes is the reason I don't fly mine anymore.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking too. I was like, you know what? That's why I take Greyhound, because the private jet was just too trackable.
That's right.
Yeah, it was brutal. So, anyways, but
did you guys hear about this? So this is going off another deep end, but I haven't seen it in the news that much. But supposedly Elon tried to claim that, like, I don't know. I'm not going to say this news source is credible because it's on TMZ. It says a stalker attacked Elon's car with his son inside of it. So I haven't heard anything about that, which once that would happen, I would say, okay, maybe we need to like take a step back.
I think that's actually what happened, and that's what caused him to like kind of like have the snafu, or the quick judgment on all these people. Just kind of like, if you have a lever, he's pulling one that he happens to have, right? When you feel personally attacked, literally, right, or people you think are following you or something like that. If he wasn't in charge of Twitter, he would just been like, hey, this kind of sucks. This is, all this person's fault, right? But because he is, he can go kick people off, right?
Isn't it just a kid who has that like tracker too? It's like,
yes,
a kid. Last time I saw he first wrote it, he was underage, which was kind of crazy.
And then so to follow on to this, and then just recently, because I don't know, he loves the headlines. Now Twitter is banning all posting of any other social media pretty much on Twitter. So you can't like post a link to Mastodon or to Instagram or to anything else unless you pay money.
Well, no, that's been backed off already.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, they already backed off.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they deleted it in less than 24 hours. They went ahead and deleted that policy offline.
Yeah. So, and then the last thing, which I didn't know that had already gotten offline, but the last thing Elon has done is he's also posted a what do you call it? A poll, which is his new way of running Twitter, just one poll at a time. And this is whether he should be CEO anymore. So, and he was supposed to not be CEO. So that was the cool thing.
He said he was going to abide by it, and he's still CEO. So
yeah,
I don't know.
We'll all see what happens. But I read enough. Go ahead.
This is worse whiplash than when we had a revolving door on the White House staff.
Yeah, it's.
How many Scaramouches does it take for them to pull a policy back at Twitter? It's got to be micro Scaramouches.
Yeah.
Well, and he's talking about how he's all against censorship unless it's somebody saying something negative about him or something he likes.
It's all free speech until it hurts me.
Tell me another one.
No, when he's using these polls, and like his biggest thing was there's too many bots on Twitter, right? Yeah. And so now you're using polls to do stuff like
with the bots. I don't know. It kills me.
Yeah, right.
So
I have 2-year-olds who had better self-discipline. This is just nuts.
I read about the plane tracking stuff, and I've actually known about this for a while, right? It's not anything new that you can track planes because they have a transponder. And you can actually set up ground stations to track these, and they're like, you can set up like your own, right? And there are people who do this, right? They set up their own ground stations to track airplanes. It's not just like the equipment required, and then they set up a big network, right? Like kind of a community network that transfers these whenever they see these planes, and so on and so forth. But I also read another article just recently, and this is actually related to TPS sensors in your car. So if you don't know, there's a law that all cars have to have a tire pressure sensor. Hold on one second. I've got a little one attacking me.
All right, go for it.
Anyways,
all right.
So you have to have a tire pressure sensor in your car, and people are using these to actually track because they have unique serial numbers.
And since they can get hit by a wireless signal, then you can therefore track the car. Is that where it leads to? Let's see.
So
the
I can
worst thing
speak
is
to
when
this a
these
little.
go off. Oh, go ahead.
I can speak to this a little bit, not this specific story, but a few years ago, it was at BSides Orlando. Somebody had posted some research on this and actually done a talk on it, and nothing's changed. Essentially, you can use a RTL SDR, a little $20 device, and if it's inside of that sub gigahertz kind of frequency, but it's in the range of the RTL SDR, those $20 devices. Each one of those devices that are inside of your tire, that actual tire pressure monitor, is a radio device. It transmits to the car what its PSI is, but they also have serial numbers that is also captured and transmittable. So the theory here is that you have enough of these around a city, and you saw they're fit inside of a Tupperware container. You have enough of these fed in, and if you know that, and we'll just pick on Elon because it's fun, their cyber truck has whatever in it, these TPMS monitors, they track them throughout the city, and you say, oh, we saw the 4 serial numbers or 2 of the serial numbers show up for Elon's vehicle going this way and this way through the ground stations, and now you're tracked.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. So each of the TPS has a serial number that is assigned to it, right? And there's a unique serial number for each one, because that kind of tells you what the tire is, like which tire it is. It also makes it so when you're driving down the road, you don't get your neighbor's car tire pressure and you think, what something bad is happening, right? And so Ian's right. You would put a bunch of sensors in your city, and they would actually pick up all these serial numbers. If you connect those with something like a license plate reader, at certain areas, once you've categorized it, you can actually associate vehicles. Even if you didn't have a license plate, you can track vehicles. You don't need a plate. I can just know that these sensors, I saw them, and then you can start to map where this vehicle's going. And then you start building pattern of life, all the other kinds of fun stuff, right? But these sensors are unencrypted and they have no authentication. So they're just broadcasting out their serial number all the time. They have about a 5 to 10 year battery life in these sensors that are inside the tire. So yeah.
Blake hit the nail on the head right here. What I was thinking. Can I read these with my Flipper Zero?
I don't so glad I have a dumb car. I'm so glad I have a dumb car.
My read tire pressure sensors are going off right now, and I'm just like, which tire is it? I filled all the tires with air. Come on, it's got to be one of you. And now I'm like, oh, maybe the radio's gone out.
So here's the wild part. I can't remember what year car it is, but it's a mandatory requirement that they have to have these. So when you replace your car at some point, it will have a tire pressure sensor.
Yep. Okay.
So this isn't one of those like, oh, only the Cadillacs have the tire pressure sensor, right? All cars are going to have them. So kind of an interesting way to track vehicles around a city or anywhere for that matter, with extremely inexpensive equipment. The remediation for this would be some kind of like authentication of some sort, right? Or anything in the way of, that
authentication is hard.
Yeah.
I'm wishing every day that I'd never gotten rid of my Volkswagen Bug. Just
the new
I never it was a 69. It was the last year that they were made in Germany. I never should have gotten rid of that.
The new what do you call it? Like committing a crime thing will be having a vehicle with removed tire pressure sensors.
I do wonder because in Florida here we have SunPass, and there's all kinds of different variants of that throughout the U.S. But basically, those radio transponders that when you're on toll roads, bill your credit card.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to my kids, because at the major intersections that head out onto the highway or toll roads or all over the city, just depending on where they are, they've got the transponders that can pick that stuff up. And I got curious. I'm like, wow, this isn't a toll road. What are they doing? And I found out years ago that it's one of the ways that they do traffic monitoring. It's part of the agreement that now they can get real-time data of how many cars are on the road at these intersections to help understand where they need to build things and whatnot. But I mean, immediately that's a tracking network.
Yep.
So I wonder how long it will be until law enforcement in those same situations have those types of transponder readers to get in, even like, oh, well, somebody switched my thing out. I wasn't at the scene of the crime. I was letting somebody use my SunPass. Okay, but they were using your SunPass and your tire pressure monitor?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
they borrowed my tires.
When it comes to like tracking people and establishing pattern of life and all this other fun stuff, right? All these sensors are just data points, and you need correlation, right? So you take all of these together and you start to build pictures, but none of those pictures are in essence going to be enough for complete accuracy, right? And so once you have enough of those, then you can kind of confirm what's going on, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's probably how law enforcement will use it in the future. So
all you need is enough to convince a jury.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well,
yeah, that's true. Before we move on, if folks were curious about that flight tracking, over on the other screen, I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the name of it. But you can literally go on to Amazon and search for Flight Aware or AirNav RadarBox. Yeah, there it is. It's $29. You plug it in and it picks up the ADS-B, and that's quite literally what they're using to track these private jets. Anybody can do it. They just did it at scale.
So depending on the aircraft and other things, right, you will have to have one of these on, right, at all times. And there's other things you can correlate when they're not on, right? So there's other things like, because what you can do is with all of these sensors around, when you see a plane fly over and you have this sensor and it's here, and then suddenly it disappears, you can start drawing other kinds of judgments, right? So there's all kinds of interesting stuff, but planes kind of have to have little trackers on them. So
there's also like a Raspberry Pi version of it that doesn't take much to set it up. So
this is this is the which, by the way, there's nothing Elon can do that's going to somehow fix this. It's just, it's the same reason why everyone went out and bought a bunch of toilet paper during the pandemic. They wanted control, but they can't control it. Okay. And so the thing that he happens to be able to do is just kick people off Twitter because he's the, CEO, head, tweeter, whatever. But, everyone else just buy toilet paper because that's
when everyone buys toilet paper, you buy a bidet.
Yeah. Everyone in my family's getting a bidet this year. It's the gift of the end of the pandemic.
Outlaws have toilet paper. Wait, what? That doesn't make sense.
The funny thing, though, too, you don't even have to have one of these gizmos because there are websites that have air traffic tracking. And, even if there are some flights where the call sign or details about the vehicle are obscured or hidden, you can still figure it out. It's not that tough.
No, especially with as much as that plane is in the air.
Probably all the time. It's probably in the air right now. You want to know? Go look it up. I'm sure there's a website.
Yeah. The one last point I really want to make on this is when he took over Twitter, he kept on going on about free speech, and made a point, literally a quote that was like, even though this person doing Elon's jet brings personal risk to myself and my family of knowing where they are, I'm still going to allow them because free speech. Well, month later, the thing I just literally described as not being a problem happened. Well, I guess I should get rid of that. And it is very much like, maybe this is, the reason you have these safety teams deciding what is and what isn't good is because they have a larger empathetic view of the bad things that can happen, just not perceived through your own eyes. But I guess that's the new Twitter policy. What Elon sees is fair game.
Yep, we'll put a poll for that, Ian. So
it does seem though that no matter which way we turn, one way or another, everything that we do, everything that we have, all of our information is accessible. And this is one of the things, as one of the few people on this panel who actually remembers days before the internet, when communication was not instantaneous.
I remember.
People don't know what real privacy is anymore, and I can't imagine what it's like for someone growing up today who's used to living in a goldfish bowl where everything is visible.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that, because I remember when you could really go off the grid and be private, be hidden, and no one would know how to find you. But whether it's airplane tracking or tire tracking or what is it, even the FBI's vetted website, InfraGard.
Oh yes, InfraGard. I didn't see that in there. But
what a beautiful segue.
I was.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Is that story in there?
Yeah, the story's in there.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
I don't remember where, but if you did not, if have you guys all caught up on it?
Political. It's under political.
Is it under political?
Story.
I guess that's a political one.
Yeah.
So pretty much a threat actor masqueraded as a CEO of a large company and was able to get into a cybersecurity, like it's more of a cybersecurity threat intelligence information sharing organization with the FBI, which is called InfraGard, and able to make a fake account, and then started attempting to talk to other individuals within InfraGard, while also, I believe, scraping all the data and getting a bunch of contact information. I think they said there was an option to put your social security number in it, but there wasn't any. So
I always take that option if it's available.
Oh, right. Well, the thing about InfraGard too is that it isn't just people who are associated with the FBI. It's people who are in the private sector.
Yeah.
And
it's not just cybersecurity. It is all sorts of security all across the board.
Yeah, it's critical infrastructure. So they have like 12 domains of critical infrastructure, and it's an FBI partnership between private businesses to help share and disseminate what they call sensitive but not classified information, to let them know of threats and exchange information. I was a member when I worked at HD Supply, which, if you're familiar with them, provides piping and all kinds of stuff for critical infrastructure. So yeah, no, a breach of that, I mean, it's not the OPM breach. And I think if this breach had happened 5 years ago, it would have been a huge deal. But after OPM is breached and after Equifax is breached, like, okay, that shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Well, the other thing is that outside of tying you to this national database of people that are trying to protect critical infrastructure and share information that way, with all the breaches that we have over the last 5 years, let's just say 5, most of your data is out there anyways. A breach now is, to me at least, seems more like tying you to a specific thing more than, oh, I've got your data. Your data's already been swiped 5 ways to Sunday.
Now it's just making sure you're not on Ashley Madison under the correct name.
Yeah. That's why I make a unique email.
He goes under May Ralph and Ashley.
Yes. No, I have an automatic email name generator for every website now. I'll never use the same email again.
Yeah, I think the scary thing about it is if they're just trying to tie people to people that some people might call snitches, especially with the political tensions that we have into this country right now, and people anti-government and anti-this and the big divides and everything. With all the violence that's been slowly ramping up against some of this stuff, the insurrections and everything, how safe are you and your family going to wind up being because of something like this? Is that where a line all of a sudden gets drawn?
I think.
Well, and
go ahead.
Yeah, you don't even have to be a Russian oligarch anymore.
No, to accidentally fall out of a building. No.
Yep.
Yeah. How many buildings are they?
Yeah.
Does being an InfraGard count as you being an informant? Because I know like anyone in any type of government agency can ask you to be an informant at your place, and pretty much if you hear anything and you could actually like put it like tell them. I know people who have been like approached and stuff like that. Does that count as InfraGard as well? Because I know you can tell them, but usually most cybersecurity people, especially blue team, right? You're not like you can talk to law enforcement, but you do not directly. You go through legal goes to them, right?
Yeah.
So there's some weird shadiness with that too. Knowing that someone at your job may be bypassing the chain of command may also be like a red, like a badge on your permanent report or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back from when I was in it and was very much more involved in it than I certainly am now. I was trying to remember, but because there was a point where it was around the time that they were bringing up those like be an informant, and there was a whole kerfluffle, especially about cable providers being informants, being somebody who walks into a home and is like, oh, I saw something weird, and it's like, well, I had to let them in because I had to get my cable modem fixed. Like, I don't know that I want that. And where's the invasion of privacy there? So I think though, that the points that have been brought up about dangers to families and tracking and power is a really good segue to that other story that we've got in there about a tracking device and a mayor.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, the Reno mayor sues?
Yes, Reno mayor
Yeah.
sues after finding tracking device on a vehicle. So this is the garden varietal of tracking devices. So they look like little Pelican cases. They're real small. They got a little magnet on it. You can buy them off eBay, excuse me, Amazon, couple $100. They slap them on the bottom of the car, and it's got cellular and GPS, and it'll tell you where the car goes. They use them. Different companies use them, but you can buy one. Anyone can. So I guess
How
one.
big is it? It's as big as a Peloton box?
No.
Like
Like they're like this big. They're like
okay.
like a little waterproof. They're not that big, right? Like you won't know they're there unless you go look up under the car and then you can see it, right?
Like
they're battery powered. And anyways, she found one under her car. Well, let me phrase that. A mechanic found one under her car, and she's suing after she found out about this. I can't imagine that it would be that difficult to figure out who was the owner of it. I don't know if it says in the article.
Unidentified.
It said it was a private investigator.
A private investigator, yeah. So I mean, in one of these scenarios where like if someone did find one of these under the car, they're associated with some company that's actually offering this service. As soon as law enforcement gets involved, these companies are easily going to divulge every bit of information that they have about the customer that would be paying for this thing. So it's not like, if they have anything that would actually connect it to a real person, they're going to absolutely tell them about it. So, but it looked like it was a private investigator. For what? Not sure. But I have a sneaky suspicion that legally the private investigator did not have the authority to do that. So
yeah. I was going to ask that if anyone on here has more experience with private investigators than I do, because one of the private investigators that I used to work with, I would say they were not incredibly bound to morals.
Well, because they're trying to be successful. The law prevents success.
But what is the real rule? Like, do private investigators, at least in some states, I don't know. Again, I'm asking the audience or anyone here.
I believe that falls under like the consent to monitoring, right? So are tracking because you're monitoring someone's activities, right? And I don't think that they have that, what is it?
Right. But, I mean, they do surveillance, right? They take photos of you.
Yeah, but that's in the public, though. That's in the public, right? Yeah. Like, you're not,
they always used to try and tail and follow you anyways. Now they're just doing it without actually physically following you.
I wonder if that falls into the same thing as like wiretapping, though. Like the reason you always used to see in movies, like the two people huddled around the big reel-to-reel, is because the way the law is written, someone actually has to hear it happen in real time. And then they take the thing.
Think about it like this, though, right? A lot of those laws now, and I'm not sure about the actual like legality, and it probably changes from state to state, but a lot of the like wiretapping and all this other stuff, right? I don't think as a normal citizen, you're allowed to do that per se, but from the private investigator, what they're doing is they're like, well, you just asked me to prove that they were cheating or not. Like, I'm not bringing this to court. Like, I'm just getting paid to prove what they're doing, right? To you, and that's it. Like, I'm going to tell you right away, you can't use this in court. It's
I would love to hear from a private investigator or something on some of this stuff, because that does seem like such a gray area.
I would imagine the cheating thing, right? You want to be able to, like, there's probably like a checkbox in the private investigator, like,
do you want me to cheat, or do you want me to follow the law?
Do you want this to be permissible in court? Yes. Check. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the old mechanics things where you walk in and it's like the charge if you try to do it yourself first, the charge if you try to do it yourself and you want to watch me fix it.
Yes.
Going up.
Yes.
Do you want me to be legal? Do you want me to be legal?
Yeah. Oh, man. So
I have an interesting one that I particularly like, just because it's BEC, but it's not the BEC that you normally suspect.
Oh, you don't say.
Out of Stream Deck.
That was good.
So, like, with normal BEC compromise, right? They usually are trying to get you to send them money and that type of stuff. But the email hijackers scam food. Oh, is it? I don't know. Is that the same one I was looking at? Probably. I was looking at the registry. Yeah, okay. This one, they're scamming people for powdered milk.
Wow. And going for the good stuff, huh?
Right? Powdered milk or baby formula?
So in this, it says powdered milk. Baby formula would be right up there, though. But this one says powdered milk, and it's due, but you are correct. It is linked to baby formula, bad baby formula in China. China, there was like a huge problem there with baby formula. It actually like killed several people.
That was the same in the U.S. Just a heads up.
Oh, was it in 2015? I don't have kids, so wouldn't know. But
I did, and we knew.
So China still doesn't trust their baby formula. So there's a huge market for external baby formula coming into China. So these people are buying, like, are getting BEC compromised to sell someone like 150 grand worth of baby powdered milk, which they're then flipping in China for money.
Nice.
You don't hear a lot of, like, I would say, like, for-profit hacking, or you hear about state-sponsored hacking in China and stuff like that, but I feel like this is a little bit less. You don't hear about for-profit hacks then affecting China as much as you do, say, Russia, because they hold the limelight most of the time. So this is super interesting to me, and also is like completely out of my realm or scope as someone who deals in financial services, right? This is targeting probably like food purveyors like Target, I would imagine, Walmart, any of the big grocery stores. Is just a completely other side that I don't
understand the BEC side, though. Maybe I missed it. Like, they send the email saying, would you like to buy 150?
Whatever. They're sitting in between the person purchasing the baby the powdered milk and the vendor selling the baby milk.
They compromise the user, and then
So they just in the end insert themselves as a middleman in a desperate situation.
Right. They compromise some company that would normally buy that stuff, right? And then they send a email to the supplier asking to buy it, blah blah blah, and then they send it to the other person. They say, hey, we're going to send you this. We're good for this. They send it to China. All the milk, right? All the powdered milk that they would normally buy. And they're like, hey, we're going to pay you next week. You know, this is on credit, blah, blah, blah. It's all sent to China and it's gone. And then the other company has no idea because they don't even seen this email conversation happen.
Could you imagine doing the OSENT, trying to find everyone who buys milk, about powdered milk? Like, wow.
So what's most likely happening is it's more of a credential stuffing at large. And then once you're in there, what you do is you start just evaluating what the company does. What is their function, right? And then looking how
this guy buys powdered milk.
This guy buys powdered milk. Hey, we could sell. What do you guys think we could do with 3 tons of powdered milk? Let's go sell it, right? So, And honestly, a lot of those credential like stuffing, they'll broker. So people will sell that account out, and then somebody else will actually take it to do the scam. So.
What I love about this story, though, and it goes back to a conversation I had with a CIO many years ago that has shaped my security career, because I realized, oh my gosh, that was the moment I realized you could become a CIO and absolutely know nothing.
That was the moment.
That's the moment. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so everyone who doesn't know,
I was debriefing them on the target breach at the time, and they said, you know, let me could this happen to us? Blah blah blah. So I'm debriefing them, and they said, all right, this is all great, but we only sell hammers. Why would anybody want our data? And you know that there's some like baby formula milk powdered company CEO going, we only sold powdered milk. Why would hackers want to get into our stuff? And well, here you go.
Fast forward to only like a year after that conversation, and the old hammer department got hit too.
I'll tell you.
Oh God. Oh God. Yep, it's bad. It's real.
And just think, if all those hammers get hacked, what will Santa use and his elves to make all the toys?
Make all that stuff.
The ergonomic hammers, the IP for that, you know, the way it's shaped and then vibrates in your hand when you hit it, and
absolutely.
They're all...
I saw in the private chat where or somebody talking about NORAD. Do we have a NORAD Santa story, or was that just joking about it?
I don't think we have.
Ryan.
I was joking.
No, we don't. I was.
Okay.
Yeah, NORAD was hacked, and the Santa tracker is offline.
There needs to be like an Onion story on Santa's privacy. Like,
nobody should be tracking him while he's delivering. Yeah. This is ridiculous.
That is great.
This is a risk to my family and the elves at the North Pole, so we're shutting.
Yeah, we got to think about Santa's safety here. Come on.
Yes, guys, please. He's trying to work, and we're just following him around. Every kid wants to know where he's at. Of course they do, right?
Does everyone want to know where he's at? Because
could take him down.
Yeah.
They're tracking him so that way they know where their Legos are.
Ooh, what a great pivot.
He pivots. You know, I love Legos. Even as an adult, I buy them and then build them for my kid and then say I bought them for him. But
as any good father does.
As any good father does. But it looks like Legos are kind of expensive, if you didn't know that, and they actually have a resale market, and it looks like that's what got compromised here.
Bricklink. It was Bricklink. Wow.
Yeah, 2 API security issues.
Now that's what.
They took over Bricklink accounts, and access to steal personal PII. Stored on the site, the vulnerability could have allowed attackers to gain access to internal production data and compromise internal servers. So Bricklink is where you can buy. I think it's used or not used, but they have a bunch of different Lego stuff, right?
I'm gonna go check it out.
Scripting. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Looking just at that one line, researchers also exploited a flaw in the upload to wanted list. So on Bricklink, you can put in rare pieces or things. And trade, and faulty endpoint parsing mechanism. So that if that's what I think it is, the XML external entities, that sounds, and that had dropped off of the OWASP top 10.
So again, another scenario where we make Legos. Why would we care about security?
That's right.
Ooh,
I mean, have you stepped on one? They're indestructible.
They are indestructible. Your feet would agree.
My wife has a lifetime pass to Legoland.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she got it when it first got brought out in San Diego.
Oh, okay. So it's like some special thing. You get a lifetime pass?
That you can only buy it then. And then she gets like a certain amount of free tickets every year.
Wow.
And so she took me to Legoland one time, and I slowly, I was hyped. And then I get there and realize Legoland is not for adults, and you cannot fit on any single ride. So we couldn't even sit on the ride together. They're like, no, you guys are too big. You have to sit in different rows, like front and back. And I'm like sitting there taking pictures of all the Legos. I'm like, oh. But,
yeah, I got willed a Disney for Life Pass, so I'm good. I'm just kidding. They don't make those.
How much was that? Dear God.
You win a lottery I didn't know about.
I literally just made 5 people who love Disney just really upset in some way. Just like, what? No, there's nothing. The mouse gets his money, and I'm paying.
Right. The mouse gets his money.
Yeah. The mouse
Do not mess with the Mickey Mafia.
Do not.
Yeah, and for those of us from Florida, thank you for your tax dollars. We enjoy.
Yes, thank you for your service at Disney World.
And thank you for your support.
Yes. I did want to talk about this Veeam one. Do you guys know what Veeam is? Heard of it?
Yeah,
a little bit, but why don't you go over for the audience?
It sounds familiar.
So Veeam is like the #1 backup solution for VMware. Okay. They also have some other backup stuff too. They also do Office 365 and some other stuff like that. I feel like Ryan's just desperately looking for this story right now. So
Control F Veeam.
Yeah. Control F.
Yeah, what category is this under?
I'm gonna send you the link right now. Anyways, so I guess there was 2 CVEs in Veeam just recently that allowed attackers to compromise the API. So the way this works is that you set up a Veeam backup server in your internal network, and then you would point that Veeam to your vCenter, and then you back up all your VMs, right? So you can restore them. So this allowed attacker. Well, this was actually supposedly being also attacked in the wild. And it allowed if an attacker compromised your internal network to compromise your backups. Now, all these backups could be something like, I don't know, your domain controller. So they just grab a snapshot of that bad boy, and you're off to the races, right? So be cautious of your backups.
It's an interesting attack pattern that I bet that people aren't really looking for built out alerts for that.
Yeah.
No, and I wonder with that type of attack, we always joke around and make fun of the idea of what is encryption at rest in a data center? Like what's the point of having a server full disk encrypted in a data center? How many times have you seen somebody walk into a data center, pull hard drives, and have that be the breach?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is probably never, at least not in anything that we've heard of.
I got one good example.
Do you? I'd love to hear it. But with this, these are things that people probably treat in their head as servers that are in the data center. But if they're not encrypted through this service, now all you're doing is dumping the thing and hey, look, I can mount it in Linux. Yay! And go run through it over the internet. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy. What do you got, Wade?
So there was this one where the plans were stolen for the Death Star, and they just pulled the hard drive out and then beamed them out, and that was the biggest.
Yeah, they did not use encryption. I saw that.
And they had some serious air gapping too.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with, like, even then, like, most servers are RAID, right? So even if you do pull that drive, you can't rebuild the RAID, and you're going to be screwed. Like, no one wants to get physical.
So the in case you're wondering, like, what like the real use case for encrypting those backups, I would say the biggest one is just for repurposing the drives later, so you don't have to erase them. You can just yank them out and just, they're fine. So save you some effort.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna go buy a BD1 on Bricklink right now. They're $30 cheaper.
A BD1?
Yeah, it's the robot from Star Wars video
BB-8.
game. No, BD1. No,
BD1
Okay.
from Jedi Outcast.
Yeah. I've been eyeballing it for a while. Now that's $30 off.
I'm still under a rock.
Oh, I was at Maker Faire and somebody built one of these, like a full size one, and it was super cute.
I've seen the plans to 3D print one for a while, and I've just been like, I don't want to level my 3D printer. Like,
I only 3D print my Legos now. I don't even buy them. It's way easier. I'm just kidding. Don't do this.
Brick at a time. Could you imagine?
It took me 3 months to build this Lego. How many pieces was it? It must have been like 30,000 or something. No, it was like 17.
Layer shift, like it just kept going off. I had to print it again.
I also had to wear a gas mask for weeks because I was using ABS. Anyways, any other articles you guys want to talk about? We actually did have a bunch, but nothing really stuck out with me. Besides maybe what we talked about, but
the only other one that I really liked was Ryan pointed out to me was the satellite network breach.
Satellite, yeah.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that one as like a final hurrah for the year.
All right, 2022 going out with a satellite network bang. What you got?
So pretty much it's just talking about how they believe the Russians have infiltrated satellite networks, right? So Fancy Bear, of course, or APT-28. Who would have guessed? Not me. But and then it goes into a little bit about how CISA's warning and we need to get better, of course. It's the normal mill run around, and then they go into how Viasat was recently breached during the Ukraine, right? Knocking out GPS a little bit. Sure. And then talks about SCADA and all DARPA and everything. Nothing, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking, but it's always interesting, anything involving space and hacking, because if there's a single mistake on one of these satellites in space, it can cause catastrophes up there. Like you can't do anything because it's, if like one satellite gets out of sync, if it breaks, if it blows up some way, it could wreak havoc potentially across the world. But
oh sure. And if it falls out of orbit, it becomes a very kinetic problem.
Yeah.
Shooting, is this going to be a Death Star scenario here where we're shooting at satellites?
That's
well,
a whole other argument in the world.
The potential for harm with kinetic weapons is fairly intense. I'm trying to remember I'll have to look up the name of the author. There's a book series called the Bobiverse, and it's actually one of my favorites, and which is why it's annoying me that I can't remember the author's name. But one of the scenes or scenarios in it is that basically you've got rogue AIs pommeling planet Earth, and specifically the bad guys in this case were from Brazil. No, they were from China, and they had timed the impact of the incoming asteroids and rocks that were being thrown so that they struck one every 24 hours on the same position and just totally wiped out. In the book, it sent the Earth back into a nuclear, an ice age because of all of the debris. Imagine the KT event on steroids. It's just insane.
It sounds like the Expanse too has that line.
Yeah,
that same story.
In some ways. Let me see. Hold on a second.
While you're looking that up, I mean that the other side of the satellite thing is, I mean, they've been doing Hackasat.
Dennis E. Taylor.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, Dennis E. Taylor, Bobiverse.
Yeah, they've been doing Hackasat at DEF CON for a few years now, and that is one of those things that I deeply believe satellite communications. Just it's security through obscurity, because you didn't used to have a bunch of people that had radio equipment that could do this. Maybe some hams that were really into it would know, and now you've got anybody that can go do it, and now they can play, and they're finding out that a lot of these protocols based on just knowledge aren't going to cut it.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about the SATCOM stuff is that it's really specific to military operations. And the reason why is just because satellites cover such large geographic regions, right? They're not extremely effective at like high data throughput and some other stuff like that, though Elon is obviously shown, can't get his name out of my mouth, that Starlink and other things like low Earth orbit satellites are pretty effective at doing this, which is actually what they also used in the Ukraine. Dogs and cats at it.
Dogs and cats living together, total anarchy.
Mass hysteria.
Anarchy. But yeah, satellites are most important to the military, right? So that's why in war they're the first thing to be attacked.
Get them.
But I have to admit, even with all of this stuff going on, I mean, I have Starlink, and the bad guy in the first one of the Kingsman movies, what did he do? He used the satellites to hijack people's brains. Okay, fine. That's a little far-fetched, but the idea of a single individual, Elon or anybody else, being in charge of or owning a telecommunications network that is global, that is displaying other telecommunications infrastructure, yeah, the potential for a Dr. Evil type scenario, it's something that's crossed my mind. And it's something that I think we need to be aware of, over and above the idea of somebody going out with a parabolic or some sort of receiver who's going to take aim at a geostationary satellite, because those aren't going to be seeing as much traffic going forward now that we've hit that low Earth orbit model. It's going to become more common.
Either way, if you want to take out a satellite network, you take out the teleport sites. You don't go after all those satellites flying in the sky.
I would be interested to see like some threat modeling, like if all satellite communication died, what would happen? Like, of course,
we
like,
go to fiber. I don't know.
Shipping would stop immediately.
Shipping, travel, air. Like, does air? How
GPS
much does
is
air
your
rely?
biggest thing that you're talking about, though, which is a very different type of communication platform. But
so
it is a satellite.
Be much communications, right? So because communications wouldn't, at least as far as consumer grade communications, wouldn't degrade that much. No. But military grade, everything would be gone. At least I would assume. But
well, I'm even talking about like shipping, not just the GPS, but whenever those huge cargo ships are communicating with shore, that's all satellite.
Yeah,
all of it. So anything out in the open ocean, you're done.
Yeah, they're all shipboard.
Think about all of the people, they can't navigate across town without having their GPS.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk
about
the
offline map? No.
But I have it. I get in the car and I turn on Apple Maps just to see the traffic.
Some of us remember how to use the Thomas Brothers, but again, I'm old.
So just for
and Bronwyn, some of us use the GPS not for directions, but to see what traffic is going to be like, or how long is it going to take us to get there. The amount of times that I take my GPS and go ahead and say F you to the directions it's actually giving me because I can see the traffic that it's telling me is amazing. I still go ahead and take a look at a map before I go anywhere and go, all right, where am I going and what are my alternate directions off the top of my head?
And I know enough normal people to know that you're an outlier.
All right.
It's because people are lazy.
We have blown through our hour and it was fun. And this is our last show for the year. So everyone, thank you for showing up. Thank you for all the hosts and showing up and conversing about Elon because we love him so much. And all the other stuff that we got to talk about today. But yeah, guys,
at least we got other stuff in this week.
Yeah, right. We will see you guys next year. And yeah, thanks for showing up. And we come
back
next
June
year.
2nd.
Yep. I can't wait
June
to talk
2nd?
about more rants.
We're taking 6 months off.
Sorry, January 2nd. Wrong
Month.
J.
6
I'm
months.
distracted by the animals. I'm sorry. The dog and cat fighting behind me. I'm
oh god.
Multitasking is hard for me.
Anyways. Well, yeah, we'll see you guys next year. Bye guys.
Bye.
Oh yeah, I gotta play the video.
Yeah, we're all waiting.
Yeah.
Send us out, right?
Once again,
All right.
distracted.
For the
Sorry.